Gumption, defined as initiative, aggressiveness, resourcefulness, courage, spunk, guts, common sense, and shrewdness. Welcome to the podcast. This is Stories of Gumption with your host, Ryan Lee. All right, everybody, welcome. Here we are again, another episode of Stories of Gumption podcast, where we got a good one for you today. We're talking with entrepreneurs, creative thinkers, and really, really impressive people. Before we get into it, though, as you know, we do still have a sponsor, so super pumped about that. Our sponsor is still Open Gate Farmstead. A stone's throw away from the mighty Ausable River, Open Gate Farmstead is a first-generation farm specializing in free-range poultry, pasture-raised pork, and seasonal produce. The farm is run using a simple principle. Happy animals make the healthiest and tastiest product. You will find their chickens eating bugs on the pasture, their pigs enjoying a mud bath or some acorns, and if you're lucky, the geese will be enjoying the pond. To watch and experience the Open Gate Farmstead journey, check out their YouTube page at Open Gate Farmstead. Or you can catch them on Facebook and Instagram. And be sure to reach out to them on social media to try the Farm Fresh difference. And for a special offer to anyone in the Clinton County area, any Gumption listener looking to get an order of eggs will get $1 off their first order. It doesn't sound like a lot, but $1 off your first egg order or your first order of eggs from Open Gate Farmstead is definitely worth it. I eat their eggs all the time. I think there's something to be said about locally sourced eggs. They definitely taste better to me, and I think they're probably better for me. So anyhow, check it out. Open Gate Farmstead. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am with a good friend of mine. He is not from New York State. So all our previous, he's from New York State, but he's not in New York State as I'm speaking with him. This is Neal Kirby. He's originally from Plattsburgh, New York, currently out in New Mexico. We're going to talk about that. But he's a Amazon FBA seller, certified seller, and most importantly and most interesting to me, he's the founder and owner of Livin' Large Fitness. So he works as a trainer all over the country, wherever he is traveling, and it's also an apparel company. He's been sponsored by several other companies, and it's impressive. This dude has gumption. He's got a cool story, and Neal, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I'm definitely really happy to be on here.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to have you on. It's cool. You know, you and I, we sort of stay in touch periodically through over the years, you know, when you're coming back into town and when you're out conquering the world. But for the listeners that maybe don't know who you are, why don't you walk us through your job history a little bit? Because
yeah, I can do that.
To me, your job history tells us a lot about how you approach success and getting after it, rolling your sleeves up. And so tell us about that. You graduate high school and...
Yeah, so I graduated high school right there in Plattsburgh at Seton Catholic. I then was fortunate enough to be offered some scholarships to go to a couple great Division I colleges all around the country. But being a young, and I was 19 at the time, 19-year-old, I was scared to go away from what I was familiar with and my friends. So I went to SUNY Can in Canton, New York. I was there for only one semester. Realized that playing basketball at SUNY Can wasn't for me. I just felt like I was not living up to my potential there, and unfortunately regretted my decision not to pursue any of those scholarships. So I found my way back to Plattsburgh.
Scholarships, sorry to interrupt you, but scholarships to play
to play basketball. So
like big, yeah, you were quite the talent in basketball.
Yeah, I was decent. I definitely wasn't the best ever to come out of Plattsburgh, but I just had the heart and the tenacity to pursue it. So I contacted colleges like crazy until some finally reached back out to me.
Awesome. So you're at SUNY Canton, and you decide no more with SUNY Canton.
Yep, I decided small town Canton wasn't for me, so I went back to Plattsburgh and went to Clint Community College. Graduated from there in 2010 with an associate's degree in just business management. Uh, Originally, the idea was to go for my bachelor's, but I was fortunate enough to just have some good jobs at the time. I was making decent money, as a 21-year-old. It was, kind of just enjoying life and making good money and was living with friends. So I didn't want to go on and pursue a bachelor's degree at the time.
Gotcha. Nice. So what kind of jobs did you have? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate enough to work for my father's business and for him while I was in high school and up through college. But at the same time, being that I do like nice things, I purchased a new car, was living in a nice condo with some friends. I needed to make more money. So I was working actually in my last year of college, 3 jobs. I was working for my father's business. I was working as a manager at NutriShop, a supplement store there in Plattsburgh. It was there for just a little while. And I was actually working for the city of Plattsburgh at the recreation center. I was working the Saturday and Sunday shifts from open to close, running the gym there and the track and the weight room.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a lot, but I look back and I'm definitely am grateful that I worked hard then because I was able to save money and have the things I wanted and have fun with friends and travel a little bit. So it was worth it. And I actually then at one point was actually working 4 jobs because I took on a 4 a.m. shift or maybe 5 a.m. at Old Navy unloading trucks too there in my last semester
Oh,
of
wow.
college. So I was busy.
What do you think it was that instilled that in you? What do you
I,
think it was? Just this sort of like go get it
yeah, I
attitude.
would say definitely going back to working for my father when I was young, being a kid and wanting $20 a week allowance or whatever to go to the movies with friends or go out to eat. I remember asking him about an allowance, and he said, "No, you need to work for your money." So he offered me to go in, and this was around 12, 13 years old, to go in and just help him out on the weekends or late at night when they were closed, when his warehouse was closed, cleaning the floors, the bathrooms, picking up the cardboard and bringing it out to the dumpsters and whatnot. And that's how I was able to get my allowance money. So I would say that's where that idea of working for every dollar you have came from. And then also seeing my father be involved in the community, be, pretty successful at what he does, and seeing him, he liked nice cars, so he would go purchase nice cars. I think that idea of enjoying, especially nice cars, but realizing you need to work hard to have those things,
Mm-hmm.
stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. I feel like um, it's a hard thing to get over for any young person, but we live in a world now where it's like uh, pretty much everyone is used to getting what they want now. But
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of value in a job where you don't get what you want now, so to speak, right?
yeah,
Like you got to actually sit back. Like I remember my first job where I really kind of had to slog it out, and I remember there were days I was just like, "Man, this sucks." But I worked for Gus's Red Hots
yep,
down on Cumberland Head.
yep,
Yeah, and I was a dishwasher and a busboy, and I did that for a couple years. And interestingly, as I look back and I talk to people, and what was your first job? What was your first like slogging job where you got paid like crap and you had to, do the worst job? Well, at least for me, at the time, I would have said, "Oh, that was definitely the worst job I've ever had."
yeah,
But now I look back on it and I'm like, that was one of the best jobs I ever had because it taught me so much. And now that I'm older, I recognize that.
yeah. I think that comes with just age and maturity and realizing that everything we have in life isn't free. And then, like you said, a lot of people now, I guess you could say, want free handouts. They don't want to work for what they have. And being from a small town, just like you, being from Plattsburgh, we had to work for what we wanted. So starting off in those jobs like Gus's, or like my actual first job working for somebody else other than my father, was actually at Yando's Big M in the Skyway Plaza.
I love the
So
good
yep,
old Yandos. Yeah, I done a
yep.
few
So I was,
groceries there back when I had an apartment over there, buddy. Yeah,
yep.
nice,
So
man.
like those jobs, you look back in retrospect and you're like, man, that sucked. But at the same time, you're like, I earned every cent that I made there because this job sucked, but I showed up every day.
Yeah.
I did it. And then, like you said, later on in life, you're like, wow, that actually taught me a lot.
Yep, for sure. So I'm gonna jump ahead because
Yeah.
this is the part that I really want to get your thoughts and experience on. But when I learned that you were a certified FBA seller for Amazon, I was like, excuse my language, but what the hell is that? But so tell the listeners what that is. What does FBA even stand for? And tell me how you fell into it. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's pretty interesting. And I had the same reaction as you when I first kind of, like I told you off air, when I watched a YouTube video about it. I was like, what is this? I saw it in the recommended videos and clicked on it. So yeah, Amazon FBA, it means Amazon fulfilled by Amazon. And what that is you can do two things. You can be a merchant on Amazon and ship items to customers yourself, which takes up more of your time. You have to deal with the customer service firsthand, or you can do fulfilled by Amazon, which means I get items, I send them into Amazon, and then when an Amazon customer goes on to purchase an item, Amazon ships those out. If there's any issues, they contact Amazon directly. Amazon handles everything on that side of things. They charge a higher fee, Amazon does, because they're handling the shipping, they're handling the customer service, any returns, but that fee isn't drastic. So for me, to give me more time to pursue other things that I enjoy in my other ventures, it made sense to go that route. It's just the best way when it comes to time versus
Interesting.
profit.
So what's the other route?
So the other route would be me sitting here purchasing items, listing them on Amazon, similar to eBay. You have to get approved by Amazon first, but it's very similar to eBay. And customers placing an order, I getting their order, packaging the order, shipping to them. Then I'm 100% solely responsible for the shipping, making sure it gets to them safely. With the actual cost of shipping, which when you break down the cost of having Amazon fulfill it versus you filling it and not having to pay for boxes, poly bags, items, that you would need, like tape, uh, printer ink is another big thing,
Interesting.
expensive. Uh, and just all those different items, you add that up. If I was mailing these items myself, that fee that Amazon charges me is well worth it because I'm actually saving money in the long run.
Wow. So just to check my understanding here. So you find items that are selling at a good price or a higher
Yeah,
price, and you buy them up in bulk and you send them to Amazon, and then because you sourced those items for Amazon, you get paid on them,
that's
basically.
correct. That's the simplest way. So I can give an example. Uh, the best one recently would be these makeup brushes. I purchased them for $3 at Marshall's. They were selling for $37.72 on Amazon. I purchased all, they had 11, that was it. Purchased all 11 that they had, sent them to Amazon, paid $12 shipping to Amazon, shipped them right to one of their hubs, and then they disperse them to whatever hub that they feel appropriate where they're selling the most. So they may send 2 to this hub, 3 to this hub. Uh, and then they sold on Amazon within 4 days, all 11 of them.
Wow.
And with the fees, so I paid $3. Amazon on those, I believe, charged me just around $5. So say $8. I made $29.72 approximately on each item, on
Each.
11 of them. Yeah, on each. So you do the math, 300, just round off $300 profit in 4 days.
Holy smokes.
Real quick, easy. And it took me going into Marshall's, actually was just going in there shopping just for myself, I see that they had this big clearance section of makeup, and I had never dealt with makeup before ever in my life.
Of course.
So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
looking at these items and I'm saying, well, I wonder if these would sell good on Amazon, if they would sell well. So Amazon has this great app for sellers called the Amazon Seller app, where I can scan the barcode of that item and see in live time what it's selling for on Amazon, what my fees are going to be from Amazon, and I can actually input my price of purchase on there, and it will tell me what my profit is going to be. So that's what I did.
No shit.
And I was in there for 20 minutes that day. So 20 minutes of my time made $300 profit in 4 days.
Not too shabby.
And that's a very that's a very positive example. There are
Sure.
examples
What's
where
it?
you make
I'm sure there's crap
you know.
examples. Do you have any real bad ones that happened to you that you're willing to
Yeah,
share?
actually. So the first place I ever sourced items was at Walgreens. I had a couple great items I purchased in there where I made good money. But I scanned these dolls. They were dolls that came with a stuffed unicorn, and they were ranked really high because you actually see the
Yeah.
ranking on this Amazon seller app. So you see what they're selling, like where their rank is in the selling feed. So anything below 100,000 is really, really, really good, because that may sound like a high number, but you have millions of items selling in that category.
Interesting.
That's just the toys category. So you could have 6 million items selling. An item ranked under 100,000 out of 6 million is really good.
It's popping up a lot. People are buying it.
Yeah. So I see these dolls with these plush unicorns. I scan them. They're on sale for $10. It was buy one, get one 50% off. So I paid $15 for two, I believe. I would have to go back. This was, months ago, but
Sure.
I believe it's just say $15. So even with sales tax, whatever, say $17.50, I was approximately paid for these two. I ended up only buying two because I just had this weird feeling. And they were selling at the time for right around 70 a piece. So with fees, the fees were $8 on these because they were kind of a big box item. So they were, they were pretty large to ship. So they charged $8 per. So you can say I spent $9 on each one, just round it off, $8. So you're talking $13 per item.
Yeah.
With fees and whatnot is approximately what it would have came out to, between $13 and $16. At $70, that's a really good profit of two items. Make $100 real quick.
Wow.
They sat there for 3 months before they sold.
Ooh, there's the
and
downside.
I ended up only getting,
Yep.
I think I sold them for around 25 a piece. So I still made money on them, which I'm not complaining about that. But you could see an item that looks great by ranking is selling really well. But that's the scary part, is if you don't know that item. I have certain items I look for now because I know they sell no matter what, and they sell for a good profit.
Yeah. So,
but you have to take that risk sometimes and go for those items that look good, but they may not be.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's a strategy to it. It's not a just go out and randomly find random stuff. You kind of stick to a genre or an industry or category, right?
Yeah. So for me, I started in toys, and that's still where my passion is, because it actually stemmed from when I started looking into this, doing the research. Everybody that I researched that they were current good sellers said you need to find a niche. So I thought toys. Toys always sell year round. You get in around the holidays, around tax season, they're really selling. So
and they're fun. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and that's kind of where
who doesn't like a toy?
Well, me being big into fitness and whatnot, I'm a huge comic book fan when it comes to. I don't collect comic books, but I love Thor and Captain America. And all those characters.
Respect.
So that's actually what I started looking for, were action figures. Let's look into all different superheroes, and that was actually my best item. My first best item was a Captain America 12-inch action figure. I bought every single one at the Walmart in St. Albans that they had, every single one in the store. And then I went to every other Walmart in Vermont and upstate New York that I could find, and nobody had anymore. But I went because I was getting these for $7.82. I still remember the exact numbers on these. It was $7.82 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were selling, they kept fluctuating, but they were selling between $29 and $42 a piece.
Okay.
So I purchased a lot of those, and they only had a $3.50 or so fee on them. So I was making a really nice profit on them. And when you buy 20, 30 of those, that adds up.
Yeah, it
And you
does.
get excited when it's your first item you purchase and they're selling like crazy. That was my first week, my first good successful item. And it was just from there, it's kind of, you get bit by a bug a little bit when it comes to this reselling, this Amazon FBA.
Yeah.
You start, like anything, you start making money and you're like, wow, this is really cool. And it's kind of fun because you're out there shopping. So you could be going to the store to pick up a package of socks, but you're like, oh, I'll take a few minutes and I'll just look around and see what they have. So everybody shops. So it doesn't take much out of your going out of your way if you have the time to spend doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't. The seems like the hour investment isn't even really a factor. I guess my question would be, what has your general net positive been on a monthly
Yeah,
basis?
actually,
Generally, if
no,
that's okay to
I
ask.
was actually,
Everybody's gonna
I was
know here,
actually
but
I had
yeah,
my Amazon seller app up to actually give you some exact numbers on that. So,
sweet.
so like for example, my this is my previous 30 days, and right now, like I was explaining a little bit, off the live feed to you, is that where I am in New Mexico right now is a very small town. My closest Walmart um, is 30 minutes away or so. The next closest one is an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
And Walmart's a really good place, as everybody knows, to go buy
Yep.
things.
Yep.
So that makes it tough. There's no Walgreens within 3 hours. There's no Kenny Drugs. There's no CVS. So my shop abilities here is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
But even this month, for example, last 30 days, because it just goes by 30 days, 7 days, or you can do 2 weeks. So my last 30 days, it's $606 profit, 131% increase from the previous week, this week from last week.
Wow.
And this is my worst month so far. My first month was 1,600.
Whoo, baby.
And the second
Look
month
at that. Wow.
was just a little bit above that.
Wow.
So as a side gig, this is a really good way for people to make good money on the side. And if you have the ability where you're putting in the time on the side on the weekends after work, and you start making money, and I'm very lucky because I do see things where people don't make 1,600 in the first month and they get really discouraged and they quit, which you have to keep with it. But if you're doing this on the side, say you spent twice a week during the weekdays, Monday through Friday, an hour and a half at a store. And then on a Saturday, maybe you go spend a couple hours, spend 2 hours at the store. And you're making $400 extra a month. That's a car payment. That's half of or 1/3 of a mortgage.
Yeah.
So for 3-4 hours a week, you could pay a car off. You could pay, for your house. But then if you started realizing, oh, I'm doing this off just 3 hours a week or 2 hours a week, what if I spent 10 hours a week or 12? Then people end up maybe making more than they make at their job. And this is something they could do full time on their own schedule, work only 12 hours a week, and you're making what you were making at your job, possibly.
Yeah. Man,
you just have to find your niche and you have to get a little lucky. And that's really all it takes.
I think there's luck. I think everything has a little bit of luck, but I think the people who are successful are the ones who are allowing luck to fall in their favor. They're they're
Yeah, I think
if you take a general sales role and you're like, you got two people, they're both going for the same type of business opportunity, but one person is calling 100 people a week and the other one is calling 20 people a week. Naturally, the luck is going to fall. The lucky ones are going to fall towards the person calling 100, right?
exactly.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I was getting at, is that little bit of luck comes with your effort you put in. So the more effort you put in, I feel like, the universe is going to reward you with that little bit of luck.
Yep, absolutely. How does somebody listening who's probably intrigued? I'm sure 9 out of 10 people listening to this are at least paying attention right now.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like,
I was when I
yeah,
first found out. So.
I would assume everybody listening, I hope, is paying attention to this, because you got my attention. So how does somebody get going with this?
Yeah, so easiest way would be just to go to Google and type in Amazon FBA seller. You'll get the Amazon links, plus you will get articles written by individuals that are current sellers or interested in or have done research and written about it, and start researching. Go to Amazon site directly, their FBA site,
Mm-hmm.
and read, their general outline and about the fees and things like that, so you can get the actual structure of how it works. But then read articles or watch YouTube videos of current sellers or people that have tried to sell and failed. Learn why those people failed, and then go look at the people that are successful. One great example I'd recommend for people is to go to YouTube and look at the Bearded Picker. He's a gentleman out of Alabama. He's called the Bearded Picker.
I was gonna guess that
Type in the
sounds like
Bearded
my
Picker.
buddy who owns Open Gate Farmstead, Matt Craig, but I'm gonna well, that's for another day if he's listening. But go ahead. So the story of the Bearded Picker. I love
so
this.
he has his own YouTube channel, tons of followers, tons of views. He makes a decent amount of money just off YouTube now.
Wow.
He is beyond successful. He's been doing this for I think 4 years, maybe 6 years. Amazon FBA and eBay is what he does. He has his whole garage is now converted into essentially a mini warehouse. He spends hours. He actually goes to the extent where he goes to other cities, and he has so many rewards points because he stays in so many hotels. He gets free hotels now because he goes and stays overnight in other cities. He's from Alabama, and he drives all the way up to Chicago. One of his videos, he drove to Chicago because he found an item that was so hot and the profit was so amazing. He calculated with how many were at that store, because you could go check it, for example, at Walmart, you can go right onto their app and you can look at that individual store, see how many they have in stock, call the store. You can have them put them aside. Some stores will do that for you. You get some stores that really like FBA sellers and some stores that don't, because some stores, they need to get rid of those items. That's why they're marked down. So they love it that somebody's going to come in and buy 100 items. They just love it. So they'll put them aside for you. Some stores won't. Depends on the manager and the policies. But this guy went to Chicago, did that, and I'll tell you the item. It was Monopoly for millennials. He bought every one in Alabama that he could find and worked his way up to Chicago. He went through Tennessee, everything. Bought every one. He bought hundreds, if not maybe thousands. I would have to go rewatch, but he bought so many.
Wow.
He made thousands of dollars profit in one weekend off these items. The week of
one weekend?
1 weekend. I think it was $8,000 he made on a Saturday and Sunday.
Jeez, man, this is nuts.
But he's good, and he gives he does free live videos almost, I think, 3 days a week in the morning, I believe at 8 or 9 a.m. And he gets other successful, as they call themselves, pickers. That's what they like to refer to themselves as, because they don't just sell on Amazon. They sell eBay. Some of them have their own stores now, where they actually sell kind of like thrift stores because they're so successful. They've expanded into different markets. But they have a great live show that they do. And that guy is the number one person I'd recommend to look for good, free advice. But then also, like I said, look at the stories of people failing, because you need to understand why they failed.
What would you say your biggest lesson is from a failure you've had doing this?
Yeah.
And it may not even necessarily be a lesson specific to Amazon FBA selling, but in general, maybe a business
I think
lesson or anything.
It goes back to what we were talking about with the luck being in the end of hard work. I would say it is to don't give up just because something's not working out. That first month, if I wouldn't have made $1, I still would have kept going, because at the time I needed to do this because I had to give up my corporate career and travel the country. And Ryan knows this is because my fiance is a travel nurse. So it was her dream, and I wanted to support her in her dream. And it's a great opportunity for her to make great money and also advance in her career. So I agreed to step back from my corporate career, and I needed to make money. I want to make money. I can't sit around and not doing anything. So If I would have failed that first month, I would have kept going. I didn't care if it took me 3 months. I needed to find my niche, learn the ins and outs. So my one thing is don't let failure overtake your goals or your dreams. Keep going for it, keep pushing, because most people are not successful at any new business right off. It takes months, if not years, for brick and mortar businesses to be really successful.
Oh, for sure.
So something like this, which is a little bit easier, I feel like, to break into if you do the research, a few months you may fail, but 3 or 4 months in, you can start really pulling a decent profit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head when you said, never confuse success with luck. You didn't say it that way, but you know what I mean. Like it's
Yeah,
success is not it's sometimes luck, but really luck should be an afterthought. It's about effort.
yeah. The effort you put in, like I said earlier, I feel like you're going to be rewarded. Whether it's financially or freedom or just doing something you love, you'll be rewarded in the end.
Yeah. Regardless of what you do, you can take the luck out of it and then wait for it as the frosting on the cake.
Exactly.
Dude, that's sweet. That's a sweet gig you got going on the side there while your better half there, or I shouldn't say better half, but probably
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Is out crushing it in the traveling nurse world. So you're in New Mexico right now,
Yes.
but you've got this business that you can take anywhere with
Yep.
you. Roll up your sleeves and get it done. But you've also got Living Large Fitness.
Yeah, I do. So
Tell us about that.
yeah, that
How did that
actually
start?
that started in 2011 is when I actually started the training aspect of that. It was because like I described earlier, went from SUNY Canton back to Clint Community College, and being that they were in the same conference when it came to sports, at SUNY Canton I could play basketball, but I had to sit out for a semester if I wanted to play at Clint Community College because they were in the same conference, and that's what NCAA rules regulate. So I got to thinking, well, I do want to play basketball still, but I need to stay in shape. So I started working out when I went back to Plattsburgh, and I just fell in love with working out. And as they say, I was bitten by the iron bug because I was seeing amazing personal results. And like anybody, when you see results, you just get hooked to something. So
Mm-hmm.
by seeing such fast results in the gym and just gaining more muscle and really achieving the look I wanted to,
Yep.
I realized, well, you know what? I like talking to people. I like helping people. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to see quick success in the gym that I need to start teaching myself about the science behind working out and supplementation. So that's what I did. And then I want to give back to these people that are here in the gym, but they're doing things wrong. I would just watch people in the gym and they're doing exercises wrong. I would try to help them out, and not be too invasive. And I wasn't that experienced at the time, but I put in a lot of hours. I'm not even lying when I say 3 to 4 hours some nights, reading articles about working out or watching videos on how to do exercises properly, or reading about how the human body works when it came to actual muscular response to certain exercises and stress. So I was just decided I need to get my personal trainer certification so people will take me seriously.
Wow.
Because unfortunately, you could be the most knowledgeable person, but sometimes people won't take you seriously unless you have that certification.
We live in a world of credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want the credentials, and it probably didn't hurt you
No,
either. I'm
no.
sure you
It
picked
was
up some good
it
stuff from
was
it for sure.
really in depth learning about the anatomy of the human body, which were things that I did look into when I was doing my own research, but I didn't think I needed to know all these little aspects of the anatomy of the human body. And
Sure.
it was a pretty, you can ask personal trainers out there, the test is pretty extensive when you have to go sit in a room for 3, 4 hours and take this test on stuff that, well, for example, my fiance and I have talked about it, that nurses take classes in college for when it comes to anatomy. And you have to learn this on your own via study guides and research, and then go take a test, schedule a test and go take it. So I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
as hard
Yeah.
as many other things, because it's very not hard or difficult if you enjoy it. But the anatomy part caught me off guard, and I was very grateful that I actually did go forward and get my credentials, my certification, because not only did it open me up to gaining clients, but I didn't, like you said, I learned a lot of things that I want to have on
Interesting.
my own.
You're ready. You're a basketball player, and you've got some skill. You're hoping to play, at a high level, and you decide to work out, and
Yep.
you're like, I think I'm going to pivot to this now. And then
Yeah.
at what point did something click? And I mean, I know you said it clicked and you went and you got your certification, but what was like the mind shift where the motivation shifted and
Yeah.
you're like, no, I'm going all in on this?
Yeah. So that first month of working out back home in Plattsburgh after transferring back to Clint, I was fortunate enough. I ran into an older gentleman. He was in his mid 50s, so a young gentleman. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I ran into him, and he took me under his wing, and he just happened to be back in the 60s and 70s. I don't know the exact name, but they had the Mr. Universe contest, for example, that I believe Arnold won,
Yep.
and
Yep.
a lot of other big names. But they had a universe pairs or universe couples. It was a man and a woman that would get on stage and pose together. And this guy actually had won that, I believe, 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was very successful.
In
And
Plattsburgh.
in Plattsburgh, yes. He's actually, I believe, a correction officer. He's going to be retiring soon. I
No kidding.
bumped into his old training partner while I was back home. I didn't see him, but I saw his old training partner. So we talked about him, and I got some updates on him.
That's cool.
And he's doing well. So, hopefully he'll listen to this at some point, because I'm hoping his friend will share it with him, because he's actually, he's a pretty big part of my
Yeah, man. Yeah,
success at the beginning. So
absolutely.
I would love for him to hear this. So he took me under his wing, taught me how to do the exercises properly. And then most importantly, he taught me about nutrition. He taught me, to make sure that you're getting your protein, your carbs, your fats, but then he also looked at me and said, you're a basketball player, you run, like you're skinny, you're going to put on muscle, but you have a really fast metabolism. So you can't go and eat, 5, 6 clean meals. And when I say clean, very healthy, low fat, low carb, high protein meals. You can't do that. You need to eat junk food. So I was eating 5 or 6 clean meals a day, and then I would eat these. I was actually at Walmart, these XXL burritos that were 1,000 calories a piece. I'd eat 3 or 4 of those a day.
Get out of here.
And
What?
seriously,
This is all right. See,
because
listen, you got my attention on the Amazon stuff, but now you really got my attention. You're equating burritos to fitness. Keep going.
yeah. So, this is where a lot of people don't necessarily, they'll go work with a trainer. I'm not knocking any other trainers, but they'll just eat these healthy, clean meals, but they don't look at the individual and, their metabolism, like this gentleman did to me. Because he just straight up saw that I understood the exercises, and in that first month I put on 30 pounds and not an ounce of fat.
Wow.
And people that know me know that's the truth. They've seen the pictures, they saw it when it was happening live, they saw the strength increases. I mean, I just responded to what he was having me do so well, and I wouldn't have if I was healthy. If all my meals would have been healthy every day, I wouldn't have, because my metabolism was so high. I needed those 8,000, 10,000 calories a day, much like competitive strongmen, where they just pound 10,000 calories of food a day.
That's insane, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was to the
Wow.
point some days I would make myself sick. Like I would actually physically be sick because I would eat so much food.
That goes against everything I have ever been told.
Yeah.
But I'm interested. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes total sense. You need the intake for your body to absorb it and convert it into muscle tissue.
Yeah, and like at that point, I was 20, just shy of 20 years old. So I was 19 and a half, and I was young, so my metabolism was pretty good. I had been a competitive basketball player since sixth grade, I believe, fifth going into sixth grade in that area. So I was constantly running. I played soccer. I played baseball. So I was used to constantly being active. And even though I realized I had to sit out that semester, I was still running every day, a couple miles a day.
Holy smokes.
So running a couple miles a day, that expenditure right there
Yeah,
was
that'll do it.
tremendous. And then you add in that at that point, I was working out hour to 2 hours a day. But I was sometimes going twice a day because I just was so addicted to it at the time. So I was burning a lot of calories. So I was very fortunate enough that I had this gentleman take me under his wing, and he kind of, just evaluated it week by week, like a good trainer would with a client. Evaluated the progress and said, well, you need to eat more here, but you can't eat healthy food because you can't eat 8 to 10,000 calories a day of healthy food. I mean, if somebody tries to do that, that is a really tremendous amount of food. But to eat 3 or 4 burritos that are over 1,000 calories a piece, that's an easy way to get 4,000 calories a day. So that's what I had to do. And if you look at you go do research or look at any of these competitive bodybuilders that are professional bodybuilders in their 20s, early 20s, a lot of them had to do that same thing. They had to pound a lot of junk food in to obtain the mass that they wanted to. So yeah, I gained 30 pounds in that first month. And then after 3 months, I was just over 200 pounds. I think I was 205 pounds or something around that. And I had to take a look in the mirror one day and realize at 205 pounds, there's no way I'm going to be able to dunk a basketball anymore regularly. That's not going to happen. There's no way I'm going to be able to run up and down a court without at some point getting out of breath, even though I was still running a little bit. But by that third month, I realized that running was starting to be counterproductive for muscular gains. I would just start walking on the treadmill for cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go outside and run anymore because it was being counterproductive for what my goal was at that point, because I had my mindset started to shift, and I realized that basketball was no longer my future. I wanted to play professional basketball overseas. That was always my dream in high school, and it just shifted literally within a few months. I looked around and saw that other people weren't putting on muscle like I was, and they weren't growing like I was. So I had to have some genetic disposition to putting on muscle a little bit quicker. I felt like I was lucky, and maybe I was fortunate enough, like I said, to have an individual take me under their wing and teach me the right way, which a lot of people don't get that. But there was some response in my body that told me this is what you were meant to do.
Yep. Well, that's cool, man. So you translated this into not just a personal goal for your own fitness, but you decided to make it into a business move too, and I assume monetize it in some way.
Yeah. So really what happened is I continued to work out until I was actually 23. And at 23, I got up to 285 pounds or so. Very low body fat. We're talking
283.
285 pounds.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah. And I was just shy of, I was under 10% body fat.
Oh my
So,
God.
I had,
dude, you're a machine. You're a machine.
And
you're a machine. That's amazing.
I actually ended up, though, and this is the unfortunate part, I ended up at one point having some blood pressure issues because my body, it wasn't meant to be 285 pounds. 250 pounds, I feel comfortable. 285,
sure.
It was hard going upstairs. It really was, and you could take somebody that's obese and it puts so much strain on their heart and their skeletal system. But take somebody that is 285 pounds obese versus 285 pounds of muscle. That muscle actually puts a lot more strain on your internal organs because it's heavier.
Yes, because the muscle, and the muscle, correct me if I'm wrong, is constantly burning calories, putting stress on your body. If you're not compensating for more calories while that's burning, well, if you've got a bunch of 100 pounds of extra fat on you, that's not burning calories for you. It's just
exactly
there, right?
So muscle requires energy.
Muscle is a whole nother thing. Yes,
So,
exactly.
I'm 285 pounds. Going upstairs gets me out of breath, going up a flight of stairs. And I was living in a 3-story, on the 3rd story apartment at this point. So stairs were killing me. I went to the doctor because I kept getting headaches. So my blood pressure was high. So I actually had to go on Bistolic, is what it was called, by Forest Labs, prescription blood pressure medicine. And I did that for like 3 months. The doctor told me simply, you need to clean up your diet. You need to eat more fish. And I hate fish, but I added it in. And I ate more chicken and I backed off the red meat. And I went down to maybe 265, 270, but I just couldn't lose the muscle quick. It was like my body at that point didn't want to lose the muscle. And
You
finally,
should have given me a call, man. I got plenty of tricks to just lose muscle. I lose muscle like crazy, like nobody's business.
and this actually kind of goes into why I felt like was something I needed to pursue, because not only could I put on muscle quick, but I didn't lose it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I'm 23 and I ended up having a partial tear in my left pec. So it is scary. I was in the gym by myself on the oval. I was on the incline bench press and I was recording it. So I actually have footage of this. I was doing 555 pounds on the incline bench by myself in the gym,
Oh
nobody in the
my
gym.
God. Wow.
Stupid. It was stupid. People were like, oh, that's a lot of weight. No, that was just stupid because nobody was there to stop me if something went wrong. And I was lucky enough that a kid I actually graduated high school with happened to be walking in and he heard the actual weights clanging as I was, pressing it. So he thought somebody was down there deadlifting because that's what it sounded like to him. And he came in right when I was actually on my 10th rep and I felt like a pop and a burn. And I just felt like all power go away from my left side, from my left pec and shoulder.
Oh my.
And I was luckily enough that I was able to rack it slowly with his help. But I'm like, when he heard the pop, I had headphones on listening to music and I heard it. But he actually heard it while he was walking down the hall and he ran over to see what was going on, So that made me kind of take a step back, evaluate things from more of a health standpoint, bodybuilding and health. And then I realized, well, I've kind of in these last few years done a lot with myself and my own body. I really want to do this personal training thing serious and help others so they don't tear their pec muscle. So they don't have to go on blood pressure medicine because they're stupid. They're not thinking that, hey, 285 pounds, whoa, it looks awesome. This is so impressive. There's repercussions to that. It's good to have a goal and achieve it, but there couldn't be repercussions. As healthy as you think you're being, your body is not meant to be 285 pounds for some people.
Yeah.
So I realized that all these things I did wrong, even though I thought they were right at the time, I did them wrong. What other young guys were trying to pursue those same goals, but in reality would end up at 23 or 24 or 25 being on blood pressure medicine or tons of injuries to their elbows or their, whether it's muscular tear or tendonitis. I could help them prevent this and do things properly and slowly progress, not progress like I did very fast. Because when you grow too fast, your muscles grow faster than your tendons and your joints. So they just can't handle that.
Interesting.
And I was very lucky that I had just a partial pec tear. So it was bruised for a few months on my shoulder and my left pec. But I was lucky because if that would have fully torn, taking my shirt off now would be very uncomfortable because you would either need to have surgery, which I'm not a huge fan of getting surgeries unless they're really needed. Which at that point pursuing, I had sponsorships at the time. So I needed to look good in order to keep those sponsorships and keep getting free supplements and money. So a pec tear, if anybody's ever, any of these listeners have ever had an injury, a tear of a muscle, it basically caves in. So you don't ever look the same unless you have that full reconstructive surgery where they reattach it.
Interesting.
So I'm lucky in the sense that it was only a partial tear and it healed itself.
But it popped. You could hear it through the headphones.
Yeah, it was scary.
That is scary.
And that's what made me transition into really wanting to help others. So those things didn't happen to younger guys. And then also I now very much enjoy training older generations because the same thing, just a different end of the spectrum. Injuries, preventing injuries.
Do you find that you train people who don't necessarily have the same fitness goals? Like what's your opinion on just a very cardio heavy fitness or with very little weightlifting? Because I see you know, there are a lot of people out there that just they're slamming cardio, man, but they're not putting muscle on their
Yeah.
body. And then there's also which I've participated in quite a bit, CrossFit. Right? What are your thoughts on those types of things?
Yeah. So I'm very, there's a lot of people in bodybuilding that despise CrossFit, despise runners. I think that, I'm just gonna be flat out. I think that is so dumb because anybody pursuing a healthy lifestyle should be encouraged. Do I think certain movements in CrossFit are risky just from personal experience? Yes. But I actually very much enjoy CrossFit. I love watching it. I love Matt Frazier. I've watched his documentaries. He's from Vermont. Winooski. He's a phenomenal athlete. He looks amazing. He could go train like a bodybuilder for 3 months and probably win a lot of bodybuilding shows.
Dude,
He was.
he's unreal. I ran into him in
I
Vermont
love it.
at
Yeah,
I was walking out of the Hickok and Boardman office, and he was walking in. I don't know what he was doing, but this was after he had just won the national or the world fittest
yeah.
man or
So he was
whatever,
probably investing that $1 million winning.
I bet you he was investing his winnings in real estate in
Yeah,
Vermont. I bet because where he's home from, right? Like I
yeah.
bet
He
you that
bought. He's from Winooski or Colchester, and I think he just bought
yeah.
a big piece of land the last couple of years up there, and he bought a bunch of land in Tennessee.
Yep. Yeah, I bet you that's exactly what I saw. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him very much. And he probably would never even remember that we ran into each other because the guy probably sees so many fans. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was cool. And he is like, there's certain people you look at him and you're like, wow, that dude's fit, or that woman is really fit. But like this guy, you look at him and it's like he looks like a boulder.
yeah,
Like you can tell how strong this dude is and like how well
yeah,
rounded this dude is. Like he could beat you in a race, but then go like bench press or squat some ridiculous weight.
yeah.
I mean, it's like a really good mix.
It's phenomenal. So people like that, I look up to him. I think he's an amazing athlete, an amazing ambassador for fitness. He's well spoken. His mom was actually my doctor.
No kidding. No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. I just happened to go into the health center there in Vermont where I lived, and I needed to actually get a little surgery. And she happened to be the doctor that came in and checked it out, and was like, she's like, well, you're clearly a bodybuilder. And I said, yep. And she's like, you do this for a living? And I said, yeah, I have sponsorships. And it was a surgery that was dealing with basically like the pec tear. If it wasn't done properly, it could cause cosmetic issues.
Interesting.
It was on my back. So I was pretty worried. And she actually was really amazing. So having a parent like that, I can see why the guy is just astonishing individual and representative of CrossFit. But going back to your original question,
Yeah. Yeah.
like seeing people in the gym just that go there every day and run, they go on the treadmill, the stair stepper, whatever it is, and they just do cardio. I think they are doing themselves a disservice because anybody that can go do a Google search can see how many calories you burn weightlifting. And not only that, you're strengthening your muscular system, your skeletal system, your tendons, your joints. So in a completely balanced program, you should be doing weightlifting. It's good for your body. You should be doing cardio because it's good for your cardiovascular system to keep your heart healthy and your lungs healthy. That's why, for example, CrossFit, even though, like I said, there are movements that scare me and I think it's risky because some of the movements take you out of a unnatural flow or movement of the muscle or the joint.
Sure.
Kind of like what do you call them? You would know. Is it kippers?
Kips? The kipping pull-ups?
Yeah, like that to me is very scary because somebody that tries to go do that doesn't have a good group around them. Like for example, I believe you go to you go to a good CrossFit gym, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, admittedly, as we're speaking here, I haven't been back in a while, but yeah, shout out to Plattsburgh CrossFit. I know there's North Country CrossFit, and both have a great
yep,
following. But John,
yeah. So
John
you have a good
taught.
group.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this. John, the owner of Plattsburgh CrossFit, is a huge advocate on proper form and like doing is in particular with the kips, like you're not just loosely swinging your arms. I mean, he hounds on people to make sure their shoulders are engaged before they move. And
Yep.
like I think that's key. You know, your muscles got to be engaged before you start
Yeah.
whipping your body around so you can hold your joints together. And it's not supposed to be a flailing move either that a lot of people turn it into, including myself at times when I'm tired. But like
Yeah.
it's supposed to actually be a very short, concise, uh, full body effort of force to help get you up in rapid speed, you know.
Exactly.
But I'm with you, man. Yeah. So you got to be smart.
So it's scary seeing uh, you look at somebody watches, the fit games, for example, and they see Matt Fraser doing all these different movements. This young kid, he goes into the gym and just starts trying to do that without anybody around him, a good group guiding him on how to properly do it. That's scary. Weightlifting, there are movements that can be scary, but most people, most young, for example, I'll use guys. Most young guys that go in, they just work on their arms and their abs. Doing curls with dumbbells, it's pretty hard to hurt yourself if you're staying in a reasonable weight that you should be doing.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to hurt yourself doing crunches, or hanging leg lifts or things like that. So like new people and beginners into the gym, it's very rare that they will hurt themselves trying to do those types of things, and they'll advance slowly because they'll end up kind of finding a guy in the gym like myself. I have a lot of young guys that come up to me and ask me questions, and I show them how to do things, and I enjoy that. So what scares me though is I've seen young guys go into the gym and try to do CrossFit movements like kipping, and that scares me because even myself, when I first tried to do that, it felt unnatural
Mm.
because I didn't know how to properly do it. And then, like you said, I actually started watching the Matt Fraser documentary, and I saw how I watched his form very closely, and I actually did a Google search, on how to properly do it. And I'm reading these actual journals by some top trainers in the field of CrossFit, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's how you're going to prevent an injury.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people won't do that. They'll
Oh
just
yeah.
go in and try to swing their body up, and then maybe they, pull a shoulder out of socket, or even worse, tear a shoulder or tear a lat, and that's just,
You could do that with any of those Olympic lifting lifts
and,
or moves
that's,
in CrossFit
yeah,
too.
getting
Yeah.
into, Olympic lifts or powerlifting, that's even scarier because it doesn't matter how experienced you are in that, at some point, you're going to tear something.
Yeah.
It's a given.
You do a
Yeah.
snatch the wrong way and you fling that Olympic bar with, more weight than you're ready for up above your head, and you're not ready for that, or your shoulders aren't in the right spot. Oof,
Yeah,
that's
that
the
really
one that
scares me. And
scares
that's what
me more
scares
than
me when
anything
I see
else.
people, because a lot of people like Matt Fraser and stuff, he started off in, for example, Olympic weightlifting. So he still does all those, snatch and cleans and
Mm-hmm.
clean and jerks and whatnot. So these young guys will go and start trying to do that because they want to be like him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You need a trainer and advocate, shout out to you and John at Plattsburgh CrossFit and all the other trainers out there. But like, I would never,
Yeah.
I probably would hurt myself if I tried to do that on my own, but having someone coach me through that,
Yeah.
just, it's so important, because then once you understand how to do it safe and it becomes muscle memory, how to do a move safe, then
Yeah,
you can start
exactly. And
focusing on results.
but like, just completely going back to the basis of the question, I think every exercise is good exercise.
Sure.
I just think that people should, one, get out of their comfort zone. So for me, doing CrossFit is out of my comfort zone, but it's fun once in a while. It's actually very fun. Doing strongman is fun. Doing powerlifting is fun to do it once in a while. Just give it a try.
Mm.
And like anybody, going for a run out in the woods, that's fun. That's not my normal activity, but that would be fun to do once in a while. So I think everybody should be diverse in their exercise. Don't be scared to get out of their comfort zone, but also know where your limits are, and no matter what you're going to pursue,
Yeah.
because it's certain things. Even in bodybuilding, doing a squat can be risky if you don't know what you're doing. Doing a deadlift can be risky.
Yep.
But fortunate enough, in bodybuilding, most young guys don't ever try that stuff to start.
Right. It's about the gun show, brother.
Yep.
It's about guns.
It's all about
Yeah.
that.
I'll tell you what, I'll come back to my comment too. If you ever want to learn how to lose muscle, you give me a call, right? Because I definitely know how to lose muscle.
Well, I'm going to have to at some point, because eventually there's going to be a point, even being 225 pounds or 250 pounds is not going to be healthy at a certain age.
Yeah. 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 I'd be remiss in not talking about or asking you about your other piece to Live in Large Fitness. It's an
Yeah.
apparel company.
Yeah. So
How the heck did that start?
that started just because I had clients I was training that I had some shirts made years ago just for myself. It was original logo. And I had clients that started seeing me wear those at the gym once in a while. And they're like, hey, can I get one of those? And I'm like, well, if this one, you don't want this. It's like, this is an old logo. But I was like, I could actually probably come up with a new logo anyways, because it's about time I revamp it. So yeah, let me see what I can do. So I looked into printing on demand and saw that the markup wasn't too high for what I would make, because I was hoping to make like $10 a shirt, because I knew I could buy a shirt for like $2-3, a good quality shirt, maybe $5. And
Gotta keep track of those margins, though.
yeah, and like I should at least make $5 profit, but I'd love to make $10, double up. So the idea was, let's take and see what the heat press would cost. And then I could buy the t-shirts. I could heat press them myself. I could sell shirts for $15, which is cheaper than virtually every other fitness apparel line out there, because that was my goal, to have good quality but cheap, because I wanted to make a name in that category, because
Yeah.
I myself, for years, buying, like everybody, Nike, Gymshark, which is a big fitness apparel company, actually probably one of the biggest in the world right now. They are so expensive just for a
they're not
t-shirt,
cheap, man.
$30, $40. You're talking $70 sometimes for a hooded sweatshirt. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I wanted to make something affordable, but yet still good quality, and make, $10 profit. So the print on demand wasn't what I was going to do. So I found the heat press, purchased a heat press, actually off Amazon. She came right to my house. I taught myself how to use it just via YouTube.
Nice.
Learned the best company for heat transfers, which is your logo to transfer onto the shirt. And went from there, started doing that. And this was when I was back home these last 3 months, and it blew up. It just absolutely blew up.
Wow.
And I realized, wow, I can't offer every item I would like to offer, though, because for me, I'm a very risk versus reward type of person, whether it comes to bodybuilding or business, that I evaluate that in depth. I make a pros and cons chart, risk versus reward. And to spend a couple $1,000s on example for a jacket, then that I'm then going to have to spend the time to go through and put the heat press on, and the heat transfer on every one of these. That's a lot of time and a lot of money to invest. So
you mean a couple thousand for a jacket because you're buying them in bulk?
Yeah, so buying in bulk
from another company.
So,
or something,
like, for me to buy t-shirts in bulk, not a big deal, because t-shirts, $2, $3, $5 at max for a really good quality shirt. So to me, there wasn't too much risk there, because I had so many people that wanted them. But expanding into new products, I had to go into hooded sweatshirts because I had a lot of people interested. So I literally took orders and then ordered them, and then ordered some extra with my profits and reinvested into more hoodies, and they all sold, luckily. But going into certain items like a zip-up jacket or a bomber jacket, like the old Air Force style pilot jacket, which are in style right now, or going into hats, going into more expensive items like shorts or sweatpants, that takes a huge upfront cost. Plus, I would need more equipment. And to be honest, I'd probably have to get into screen printing to keep up with the amount that I would have to do. So I'd have to then buy a screen print device, which those can get very pricey. So you're talking thousands of dollars upfront cost.
Yeah.
to only take a chance that they will sell, which I'm very open about taking chances, but I also evaluate chances on a risk versus reward or pros versus con ratio. And to me, it wasn't worth it when I had something out there with print on demand, which print on demand is a company where that will literally, I create my website, the orders go directly to them. I only make a couple dollars off an item, but then I can evaluate how the item's selling. And I use Google Analytics. So Google Analytics keeps track of everything for me, so I can
Interesting.
see the best days,
Yeah.
my top sellers, what's trending, and evaluate if it was worth me then at that point pulling it from the print on demand, because with one click of a button I can cancel print on demand and I can do the item myself. So then I could then say, well, I sold 300 of these jackets this month, and I still got another month of cold weather, so let me buy 100 of them on my own, where then now I'm making, like, instead of, on a jacket, instead of $5-6 making literally $30.
Mm.
It's worth investing if the numbers are there. So that's why now with this new line of items, I'm using print on demand. Plus, then I have my own heat press that I do all my other logos on that I was selling previous to that.
I would assume apparel is one of the hardest things to try and start a business with. I mean, it's a segment of your training business, but it's still it's still business, and to me that seems like how do you it seems like it would be hard. Um how do you break into that market? You get just a bunch of close followers that are passionate about what you're doing, and you get them to kind of support you from a grassroots type thing, or
Yeah, I would say that is your best bet. If you look at any of especially in the fitness world, a really good example is Christian Guzman. He's the owner of a very, very successful clothing company. And he actually has a gym, but he started off with a YouTube page. And he grew a huge following on a YouTube page because he's genuinely a really nice person.
interesting.
So people were drawn to him. That's how he started off. And then he actually created a small little gym. And then now he has a huge gym, one of the best gyms down here in the South in Texas. And then it's actually probably will pass Gymshark as the most successful at some point
Wow.
in the fitness world. I would say he's probably number 2 right now. And this isn't, we're just saying like very niche fitness. We're not talking about like Nike, Adidas, Reebok.
Sure.
Yeah. They're their own category. They're going nowhere. Gymshark may actually be up there with them at this point, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's a prime example of, I think now, because the market is so oversaturated, you need to get that grassroots start. You need to gain a following, create a YouTube page, or be a trainer locally and start getting people seeing you and people you're training wearing those shirts. And be like, yeah, what is that? That's cool. Like, that guy wears that. I want to wear that. So I think now that's the best route to go. And that's what I did, because it's just an oversaturated market. And it's a market where literally 99% of people fail.
Mm. Yeah, I believe it.
It's
I
just too
believe that a lot.
oversaturated.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes total sense.
And if you don't have a lot of money up front to invest in it, it's very difficult unless you go the route I did, where you had the grassroots following and you took orders and you ordered your shirts based off of your orders, and then realized, oh, this is what I'm making for profits, and you reinvest 100% of profits into ordering more.
But it's directly connected with your other business,
Yeah,
which
it
is
makes it
also
easier.
growing, which is
Yeah,
good.
it makes it
Yeah.
much easier when you have a training business that's successful, and then you you can add. So you have a training business successful. You're making, training doesn't. I work remotely, so I do training programs. I do diets, supplementation. I work with natural athletes and non-natural athletes. I have athletes that compete at the pro level. So I charge different amounts based off, the individual. Because if it's a pro bodybuilder, they require a lot more attention than somebody that is just somebody looking to lose
Mm-hmm.
weight. And I still give people my undivided attention. They can text me, they can call me. Every Friday, I have them do check-ins. I'm very in tune with these individuals. But in the reality, the scheme of things, to have 30 clients doesn't take up much of my time, because to answer a text message, to do my check-ins on Fridays, that's not that much time in the week. It really isn't, because I've been doing this long enough that I can look at individuals, evaluate what we have to do, look at their diets, and come up with a plan starting off in an hour to an hour and a half. A whole diet plan and workout program. I just put my headphones on, I get in there, and I write it out for them. And then every Friday, we reevaluate the program, make changes as needed, whether it's to the diet or the workouts. And, Fridays be my busiest day. But that opens up a lot of time to then spend during the rest of the week on the apparel company and Amazon.
Yeah. Dude, you got some awesome stuff you're working on, man, between Amazon and Living Large Fitness. But it's all sort of leveraging similar business skill sets, which is kind of cool. I see the overlap.
Yeah. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, I definitely hold you in high regard. And I think what you're doing is breaking away from the traditional go get a great corporate job model. And you're just rolling up your sleeves and getting it done, man, which is exactly why this story is perfect for the Gumption podcast. I'd like to kind of go into the wrap up section here where I ask you just kind of a couple general rapid fire type questions, kind of like a Tim Ferriss would do on his podcast. But the first one is, I love books. I love a real good book. Is there a book that you would recommend to?
It's funny you just said Tim Ferriss.
Uh-oh. What, you got something to say about Tim Ferriss? Good?
You say book and I think 4 Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss.
Oh my God, that's so good. Okay. All right, we're going on a slight digression here again, but I literally just got the 4 Hour Workweek and the 4 Hour Body by Tim Ferriss.
Yep.
I have not gotten into them very far. I started 4 Hour Body. It's got a first couple chapters. It's interesting, but I like where he's going with it. Have you read the 4 Hour Body?
I have not. I read the 4 Hour Workweek when I was in college.
Okay.
So that I actually need to reread too. But he's good.
Yeah, man, he's an interesting dude.
And a lot of it makes sense. And you could look at countries like Spain. Spain's a really good example. Their work week on average is like 28 hours, 27 hours. And if you look at all statistics, they live happier, longer lives than people in the United States, and they make more money on average.
Yeah,
so there's something to be said about a less work week and putting in the hour. If you take Americans on average, I think right now it's like 51 hours a week on average Americans work.
Sounds right.
And that may be lowballing, but I think last time I read that,
unless you're locked into an hourly job that maxes it out. But yeah.
But and it's rough, that average, because that's taking into account people in the oil fields, things like that, working multiple jobs because of the way the economy has been these last few years. It's I say the last 15 years. We had a little bit of a drought in the economy, and it looks like, obviously based off the stock market's picking up, and hopefully we'll get back to where people can work one job and get to less hours and make more money. But what's crazy about it all is you look at countries like that, in those 27 hours or 28 hours they work, I feel like they put more in sometimes. That's not knocking people that have to work 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. But I feel like if you took every hour and acted like it was your last hour on Earth, and you wanted to be the most successful in the last hour on Earth, you probably could accomplish a lot more in the hour than you do normally.
I would agree with that. And I think the average person in America could work, 36 hours a week and accomplish just as much as a 40 hour.
Yeah.
32 hours a week in a 40 hour week.
Well, you look at
I think there's a lot of people sitting at if they're a desk. Yeah.
Where if you have a target sales, and it doesn't matter how many hours you work, you look in those industries, The people that really get it work half the time because they get done in half the time because they value that balance of work and home life or fun life.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 4-hour work week. I like it, man, by Tim Ferriss. It's a good one. The irony that I'm closing the podcast in a Tim Ferriss fashion, and you chose a Tim
Yep.
Ferriss book. That's great. Hey Timmy, if you're listening, bro, we want to have a conversation about your books. Here's another one. What do you wish you knew when you were entering the workforce that you know now?
Yeah. This would probably go back to even before college, because the thing that people ask me the most is, people obviously want to know, where I went to college, what I did, etc., what my degree's in. If I could go back and do it over again, I actually, and this isn't for everybody. I went to college, knowing now what I have accomplished, and because the reason I say this is because right now in American society, I think our counselors in high schools need to really sit down with people, find out what they want to do. For me, I have a business management
Mm-hmm.
degree. It's honestly useless. It really is. It's my work ethic and my personality that landed me my corporate jobs, um, prior to going off on my own.
Right.
So it's a very useless degree. And the fact that an associate's degree, really now, most people want bachelor's anyways when you look at job postings. And I mean, I've landed jobs where they wanted master's degrees because of my personality and work ethic and prior experience. So I would say, especially if you have younger people, even if they're in college or if you have high schoolers listening right now, I would say sit down and make a list, very much like my risk reward or pros and cons ratio list, and see what your passion is. And then look at the degree you're thinking about going into in college. Then look at how much you're going to spend for that degree versus how much you're going to make. Because right now, this is actually why you look at doctors, for example. There's a huge issue right now with the lack of doctors in America, and it's because of how much needs to be spent to become a doctor, and then what they're paying doctors. Doctors make good money; they make great money. But when you have $1 million in student loans, it takes a long time to get out of that debt. So they're having this huge issue with doctors in America right now. And I think that's because people are starting to say, like, it's not worth the $1 million
Or the
because it's going to take me
liability.
15 years.
Yeah. We live
Yeah.
in
And,
such a
yeah,
litigious
on the lawsuit.
society, and I
Yeah.
understand, from working in commercial insurance now, that just the exposure that a physician or a surgeon or a doctor in general has to someone
Yeah.
suing them. And I mean, you can pay big boku bucks to have an insurance policy that will help you sleep at night, but
Yeah. It's,
at the end of the day, is it worth all of that? I don't know. We need great doctors, and I hope more people go for
yeah.
it. But I'm with you, man. That's a struggle.
So my advice would be seeing, what's currently going on in a lot of different fields, nursing, doctors, even attorneys, law enforcement, things like that, where they're asking for a bachelor's degree now to be a police officer. Where, yeah, I think, if you took and did more hands-on academy training, made a longer academy, because some of these, well, a side note, I was a reserve police officer in Oklahoma on the side because I felt like I needed to get back to my community. So seeing the academies for such things as that is scary. It shouldn't be an 8-week academy to be a police officer or a
Yeah.
16-week. I feel like some situations, instead of requiring that bachelor's degree, make it like, a full year of academy training where you're learning how to diffuse, these situations
Mm-hmm.
and things like
I'm
that.
with you.
So,
That makes total
um,
sense.
like, and that kind of goes into my answer with this question is right now we have a issue in the country with jobs such as the trades. We can't fill them. Pipeline workers, oil rig workers. On average, right now, a pipeline worker working out in the oil fields makes about anywhere from 12 to 20,000 a month. High school degree. That's it. You're a young kid and you don't
Yep.
know what you want to do, and you're not scared of getting your hands dirty. That's a pretty good option.
the plumber of 2030 is going to be loaded.
Yeah. Masonaries, same idea.
Mhm.
You know, it's these fields are dying right now. And I think if you did that pros and cons list, risk versus reward list, however you want to call it, as a young kid, and like broke down, say, I want to go to get my bachelor's degree in business management because I want to manage a warehouse. And then you look in your area, the average warehouse manager, 54,000 a year. But yet you then add in the cost of college to get that bachelor's degree, and then but under that, oh, okay, here I could go, and I just know this firsthand because I have a friend that works in the pipelines. So a pipeline worker,
Mhm.
he's right, he's open about this because he's actually shared this online. Made $16,000, I believe, in January. I think it was January. $16,000.
Skilled training.
No degree required. So that's 100% profit because he's not paying a student loan, and he's learned his training is all on the job. So he never had to pay for anything. So I think we need to, advice would be to step back and really evaluate what you want to do, evaluate what you're interested in. You know, you want to be an archaeologist, go for it. Go to college. That's your passion. That's what you love. And I believe you pursue your passion. But if you don't know what you want to do, don't just go to college to go to college. Go where you're going to make some money, where then you could go back to college because you have tons of money saved, or start the business of your dreams after working a few years in a job where you're making 16,000 a month.
Yep.
You could start any business you wanted to because you have the money. And I think we need to get back to that because I know, like, when I was in high school, they never once, any guidance counselors never talked to me about getting into trades.
Yeah.
It was
Same.
shoved in my brain that I need to go to college. And I already had that mindset, that I needed to go to college, that I needed at least an associate's degree. That was my mindset because I saw what was going on with the market when I was looking at jobs. They were, requires an associate's degree, requires a bachelor's degree. So I had that mindset, but I wish people would have sat me down and told me how much you can make in all these different trades, because I actually enjoy that type of work. I do.
And a lot of people do.
I enjoy more hands-on stuff. So as the 19-year-old, if I wouldn't have had aspirations of playing basketball, I probably would have moved down to Texas and went and worked on an oil rig or worked pipeline work.
Yeah.
If I would have known that's how much they were making.
Last question. Here, this is my favorite question to ask, and I don't know. I missed a couple people on the podcast, and I feel awful about it because I wanted to know what they would say. But I'm getting back into it as a Gumption podcast tradition here. If we're going to establish a business, the Neal Kirby business, the business of your life, and you could pick 3 people, dead or alive, famous or not, to be on the board of directors to help mentor you and guide you through the rest of your life, who would they be and why?
All right. 3 people. First and foremost, I think I'd have to go Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Yep.
I like Joe Rogan.
People will be
Tell
like,
me
"Oh
why."
yeah, he's has the number 1 podcast in the world." But he is just so intellectual, and his values are very much the same as my own. I think just my personality aligns up really well with his. But I think he is so strong with some of his opinions. He's a big, very pro Second Amendment, for example, and he stays true to that no matter what pressure he gets put under, and I respect that. But at the same time, he is so intelligent and fair. You watch any of his podcasts, very fair. He's very open-minded to taking ideas, fact-checking them, evaluating them, and then seeing if it makes sense, if it's true or if it's not. And I think that just makes a really balanced person.
I agree.
That has a great outlook on life, but yet still stands true to their own convictions that they truly believe in, that they've done the research, and they know that this just makes sense for them.
I like it.
So that's I'd have to go with Joe Rogan because he's just very fair and
I
intellectual.
like it. Be a good counselor for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Number two.
Going on to number two, I would have to say I would go. Actually, I'd probably have to go with Congressman Dan Crenshaw,
Interesting.
right,
Okay.
out of Texas. Um, Another individual that you're probably going to see a pattern here: people being very fair and open-minded. Dan Crenshaw, everybody probably knows he wears the patch. He lost an eye. He was
Mm-hmm.
Navy
Yep.
SEAL, and he's now a congressman out of Texas. He, if you watched any debates with him, I myself am a very like in the middle, independent, and with my views on life and politics and everything. I'm just very fair about everything. I like to take other people's ideas, evaluate them, soak them in before I respond. Uh, and I feel like that is his outlook because if you watch his debates that he's had with people, or Sunday morning when he does meet the press, things like that, that was the best example I could think of when you asked. Was I remember watching him sit there, and he was at a table with four other Democrats, I believe, or four Democrats and one Republican, and he
Mm-hmm.
himself is a Republican. But yet he's so in a world of such anger and people screaming out when they disagree with people. I am just so impressed with how he keeps his cool, especially because there was a few times when there was questions that he clearly, you could tell in his face, he thought were just outright dumb questions that just didn't make sense, and yet he still was very respectful and asked, well, why do you think that? Like, I would like to understand fully why in depth you believe this. And he kind of soaks in what they're saying, doesn't, just backlash at him and get angry, holds his cool. And I think that makes her make for somebody that would be a very good counselor on a board. Somebody that doesn't act out of emotion, but instead really evaluates everything.
I respect that a lot as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got one more though,
One
man. I
more.
I think I can guess, but I'm gonna let you say who number three is, and I'll see if I'm right.
Yeah. So number three would definitely have to be my father, Edward Kirby. Um,
Bingo. I knew it.
it's just he's had one of the biggest impacts on my life when it comes to business. Definitely business. He's just outright the biggest influence in my life because I watched him, work his way up, from when I was just a little kid and become successful at what he does, and then watched him give back to the community. And, that concept of working for what you have, earn your dollar. And then now, as he's getting older, our conversations have really developed into politics and life and religion, and hearing his philosophy. Just he's a conservative person, but he's very open about things, and I guess that's what ties in all these people is having an open idea to accept other people's views, evaluate those views, and if you're going to come back with a rebuttal, you rebuttal them with facts, statistics, science, whatever it is, but with something that can't be disproved, something that is proven. And I think that's a fair response by anybody in this world, but don't respond in an angry way. And my father just taught me to always think before I speak, which is the oldest thing in the book that people should, especially teach their kids. And I think most parents do. But now we see a lot of people and our general outlook,
Mm-hmm.
they just don't have that They just don't have that outlook right now. So it's kind of scary.
We live in a very polarizing time, and I think your three choices are certainly three people that, regardless of politics, for sure, but regardless of what the fact is or the difficulty that you would encounter, I think those three people would be fantastic at being fair, honest, and great mentors. Nice choices. I want to give you one final opportunity here before we close out to let any and all listeners of this podcast find out how to get in touch with you
Yeah.
in any way, whether it's the Amazon stuff Living Large Fitness, the apparel, or training? Let them know how to reach you.
Yeah, so the best way to there's a few ways to reach out to me. If you're on Instagram, Neal Nele Kirby Kirby. That's my handle on Instagram. You can message me on there. On my pictures if you want to ask a question, whatever. I post a lot of things on there related to the fitness world, and that's what I use for my company because I have a large following on there. And then on Facebook, you could search Living Large Fitness. It'll take you to my Facebook page, and on there's links to the website, purchase items, and you can message me on there directly about any type of training or whatnot, or just to talk. And I enjoy just conversation. I enjoy helping people for free. I will help. Whether fitness or business, I will help you with things for free. I'm not going to charge if you ask me a question about a diet or nutrition. That's just, I enjoy helping people. I help people every day in the gym. And I don't want anything in return for that. And if you feel like you want personal services, contact me and we can set up personal training. But really just general questions, especially Amazon related, whatnot, you can Live in Large Fitness page or Neal E. Kirby on Instagram.
Fantastic, man. Dude, Neal, this has been a great one. This has been a great episode. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and experiences with me and the listeners. It's been a real good episode. Real good episode. Don't forget, folks, if you're looking for some farm fresh eggs and you're living in Clinton County, unfortunately, Neal, I don't think they're delivering these eggs out to New Mexico right at the present. Maybe.
Well, I'll probably be home in June, so I'm going to actually have to grab some.
There you go. There you go. Hey, for $1 off your first order, tell them you're listening to the podcast, or Neal, you were on the podcast. Maybe that's worth $2. I don't know, but they're great eggs, and I love them. Go reach out to them at Open Gate Farmstead on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, everybody, have a good one.